Alright guys, before we get started, these are the brake tools that SP had sent to us. This is their double flare toolkit. It goes from 3/16 up to 5/8 tube. Pretty stout, pretty heavy duty. I'm going to talk to you guys about that in just a few minutes here. It's a really good kit though. This is their brake line bending tool. This is honestly one of the best brake line bending tools I've ever used. It gives you a lot of options, a lot of choices, and it does a nice bend on the brake line. So I'll be showing you that to you guys later on when we get to the lowrider project. This is their heavy duty tubing cutter. One also does come in the flaring kit, but this is also, the thing I like about this one is it's got a built-in file to it. Once you make those cuts, you can go ahead and file down the rough edges before you go ahead and flare them. So when you open your case up, you've got a few pieces here. You've got the locking bar, which is what your pipe is going to attach into. Make sure you look at the sizes. This is going to correspond with the diameter of the brake line that you're using. This will be your cutting tool right here. The way this works, you loosen this up, you stick the pipe in, tighten it down, and then as you slowly go around, you slowly tighten just a little bit more each time you do that. Keep spinning around the pipe, and it cuts through with a nice clean brake. These right here are the die adapters. This is what you're going to be able to use in order to get that double flare. This will be the first step, which I'll show you guys in just a second. And this is what's called the yoke right here. This is what's going to be forcing down into the die, into the locking bar, in order to give you that flare that you need. So when you go to flare your line, the very first thing you want to do is make sure you have the proper fitting, and make sure you slide that onto the line before you do any flaring or bending. Once you've started your flares or your bends, it is impossible to go ahead and put your fitting on after that. Also, make sure you've got the fitting directed in the correct way. Make sure this is going to be going into the threaded area that you need it to, and not upside down like that. So once you've got that set, what you want to do is figure out what your diameter of brake line is, and then you're going to set that into the correct hole on the locking bar. This happens to be 3/16. So what you're going to do is grab your die that you're going to use, and you're going to set the depth before you do anything. So what you're going to do with that is you're going to line it up, and you're going to have the same amount of brake line sticking out as the thickness of the die. At that point, we're going to go ahead and just tighten these down. All right, so these butterflies are nice. You can get a good tight grip on them. I like to go ahead and just put a little extra oomph onto them using a pair of pliers. Okay, once everything is tight, you're going to take your yoke and you're going to drop your die onto the line just like that. You're going to take your yoke, you're going to sit on top of that, and the point of the yoke is going to go directly into the center of the die. Now at this point, it is important to make sure you are putting equal pressure on this as you are tightening this down. So as this tightens down, this is what is going to be setting that first flare on the double flare. Go ahead and tighten it up, and then you can go ahead and loose up the yoke. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and remove the die. And then you can go ahead and set the yoke back in, and go ahead and set our second flare of the double flare. So we're going to tighten this down, and we're going to push this in until we get a nice double flare on that line. Go ahead and loosen your yoke up. And then you can go ahead and inspect your double flare. So what you see, it's a nice flouted setup like that. When your fitting comes up, then your fitting sits really nice and recessed into that, and that's going to give you a really good seal on your brake lines.